Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about the provisional report on the state of global climate 2020, which is to be released by the World Meteorological Organization, or what we call as WMO. So this is a provisional report. The actual report will obviously be tabled at a later phase, but the idea or the thing for you to understand from this particular video is to understand how global climate is changing over a period of time and what kind of effect climate change has overall the feasibility of the weather phenomena as well as various geographical processes associated with it. So this is the idea for your examination point of view. So let's start. According to the latest State of the Global Climate Provisional Report by the World Meteorological Organization, the year 2020 is said to be among three warmest on record. Also, the decade 2011 to 2020 would be the warmest ever. So you can understand that despite the climate change conversation going on for decades now, on ground actually the climate change is not taken very seriously, or even if it is taken seriously by across the government, the efforts are not enough because the global warming is happening and the temperature is keep on rising. So 2020 is again one of the hottest year recorded on along the whole geological scale of the earth. So it is again a point of concern. The final report will be published in March 2021. So just as mentioned earlier, it is a provisional report. The final report will be tabled in the March 2021. The State of the Global Climate Report is published annually to keep a track of global warming. So this is the mandate of the report. It is first of all published every year, so it is an annual report, and the whole idea or the purpose of this report is to keep track on global warming. WMO is one of the specialized agency of the UN. So this is something you need to know. World Meteorological Organization is a specialized agency of United Nations. So now this is your cue, and go back and check what are the other specialized agency of UN. So if you find out, drop a comment in the comment section. So this is something you need to know. Now let's start and try to see what is happening or what this report has actually observed. So rise in global temperature. The global mean surface temperature for January to October 2020 was 1.2 degrees Celsius higher than the pre-industrial baseline. So this is the thing. In your Paris Agreement, you must have heard about the pre-industrial baseline, which means that before the industrial revolution took place, what was the temperature, and after that how rapidly it has been changing. So that is the baseline from where you are actually measuring the rise in temperature. So it is noticed that from the pre-industrial level we have already reached 1.2 degrees Celsius higher temperature. There is at least 1 in 5 chance if it temporarily exceeding 1.5% degree Celsius by 2024. So the idea is, which is what the IPCC report. So this is something you go back and check IPCC report, which is again a report highlighted that how 1.5 degrees Celsius is the one which actually all the government across the world should try to achieve, because if not there will be catastrophic domino effect of climate catastrophe. So this is something which has been highlighted by the IPCC report, and this is quite alarming that the recent report by WMO says that there is a kind of almost 1 in 5 chance that it could be reached, like 1.5 degrees Celsius we could reach by 2024 itself. The Paris Agreement's central aim is to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. So this is the mandate. Under Paris Agreement, it is said that from pre-industrial level it should be 2 degrees Celsius higher only. So if like we could understand that in 2020 we have already reached 1.2 degrees Celsius higher than the pre-industrial level, and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this was considered that this is mandatory, at least below 2 degrees Celsius you have to stop, but the ambitious target or what the country should actually pursue is 1.5 degrees Celsius, and this is again highlighted last to last year in the IPCC report. 2020 will be the one of the three hottest, just behind 2016 and 2019. So, and the idea is that the record heat in 2020 has been despite near La Nina condition. So La Nina condition is the geographical phenomena where what happened that the temperature in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean becomes 2 to 5 degree cooler than the average, which means it should have a cooling effect. So whenever there is a La Nina in particular year, the temperature is supposed to be lower. But despite the La Nina being triggered in the year of 2020, it is marked as one of the hottest years. So we can understand the phase in which the global warming is happening. The La Nina phase of the El Nino ENSO phenomena generally has a cooling effect on many parts of the world. So if you go back to your NCERT geography, you will be able to understand what is La Nina. So in La Nina, I just mentioned that in the equatorial eastern Pacific Ocean, the water surface, the temperature of the water surface become cooler, and the opposite happen in the case of El Nino. What kind of effect these have over the weather patterns across the world? Go back to your NCERT geography class 11th book and you will be able to find it out. So these are the few things that the rise in global temperature has become at such a scale that even when the La Nina is set up, the year is still recorded as one of the hottest. Apart from that, high temperature over the ocean surface is also observed. So what we just discussed is over the land surface, but the similar phenomena is experienced over the ocean surfaces also. 80% of the ocean areas have experienced at least one marine heat wave so far in 2020. So basically 80%. So you can understand almost most of the ocean have been hit by a marine heat wave. So heat wave is a period of prolonged abnormal high surface temperatures relative to those normally expected. So what we considered as a heat wave is that at normal condition when there was no global warming or over a period of time the average temperature was around for an example, let's take it was around 5 degrees Celsius. But when there is a heat wave, it will be around 7 to 9 degrees Celsius for an example for a prolonged period. So we can consider that the particular water surface is hit by a marine heat wave. At the time marine heat wave, the average temperature of the ocean surface rises by 5 to 7 degrees Celsius above normal. So you can understand. In fact, a side note, marine organisms are very susceptible to temperature change, like unlike the organism on land who have become kind of adjusted with the change in temperature, the marine organism are actually very sensitive to the temperature change, and any kind of temperature change could lead to lot of problem. In fact, there is a pollution which we read about. This is called as the thermal pollution, and it has also resulted in the decrease or the devastation of marine biodiversity. So these kind of phenomena like extenuate doom for the aquatic ecosystem. Marine heat waves can be caused by locally formed heat fluxes between the atmosphere and the ocean or due to large scale driver of the earth climate like the ENSO. So the reason could be various. It could be because of the local heat fluxes or it could be because of the weather pattern of ENSO. There were also much more strong marine heat waves over the ocean in 2020 than moderate ones. So this is also one of the alarming factor that the intensity or the temperature rise which is experienced in 2020 is also way higher than the moderates one. Global sea level rise was also similar to 2019 value. This was mainly due to the increased melting of ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica. So we have already discussed there was a protest going on in Greenland before the pandemic hit. The idea was that the ice was melting over there. So let me just give you an example what happened. Most of the sludge factory, the sludges was deposited over the ice sheet of Greenland. The problem is there is a thing called albedo effect, which means it is the reflective capacity of a surface. Unlike the white surface of ice, which reflect most of the radiation from sun, the black sludge over the ice will observe the sunlight coming to it and eventually lead to heating up. So it will heat the below underlying ice sheet and it will eventually lead to melting. So this was experienced in Greenland, and Antarctica has already been facing the melting of glacier for quite some time now. So we can see that global warming has triggered and it is causing a lot of issues already. Now, what is the consequences of global warming in 2020? So, the extreme weather phenomena such as tropical cyclone, floods, heavy rainfall, droughts impacted many parts of the world, and cases of wildfire have also increased this year. So, if you remember, 2020 started with a very huge or very high intensity fire in Australia. So, after that, tropical cyclones has been quite frequent. In fact, you would have known in India tropical cyclone Amphan, then Nirvar has already been hit in this particular year. So you can understand the intensity and the frequency of these extreme weather event has increased. Atlantic hurricane season. So the season witnessed 30 named storms from June to November, which is the highest number ever recorded. So you can understand the Atlantic Ocean is also bearing the brunt of climate change, where the hurricane frequency has increased quite a time. So between the June to November, it experienced 30 hurricanes. Then heavy rains. There are heavy rainfall and flooding in many parts of Asia and Africa. So you must have known about the flooding in Assam, Bihar, and West Bengal, which was hit in this monsoon season. So we know that the extreme weather phenomena or the climate change is not a distant future, but something which we could experience right now. So this is the irony that there will be heavy rains and then there will be droughts. South America experienced severe droughts with northern Argentina, Paraguay, western areas of Brazil being some of the worst affected. Then there is also sea level rise. We just discussed melting of ice resulted in sea level rise, which is an existential concern for the small island nation. So in fact, there is a island called Kiribati, which is located in the Micronesia, and over there it's actually at the very brink of being submerged because of the increasing sea level. So you can understand it is for coastal communities, it is existential crisis if the sea level keep on rising. A significant sea level rise by the end of the century will mean that these countries will drown in the ocean and their respective populations will be homeless. So you have to understand that. And now, like for an example, take an example of Kiribati itself. It is going submerged. If the land is actually getting inside the ocean, the people, the population over there would need to migrate. And migration in the present geopolitical world of protectionism is again something which is not very acceptable. So, in fact, this is also something highlighted that the migration has become a major reason or the major effect of the climate change. So in the next slide itself, we will discuss what kind of effect this is causing to the humanity. So the population movement, just mentioned that the migration. So the climate change being a cause of migration has become quite prominent in recent time. The climate and the weather events have triggered significant population movements and have severely affected vulnerable people on the move, including Pacific region and the Central America. So these are the people who are generally on move because of the climate change, and once you are a refugee, you are quite vulnerable. So this could be considered as a major repercussion on human directly because of the climate change. Then there is also experienced agricultural losses. Brazil alone recorded agriculture loss of 3 billion American dollars. So basically the amount of 3 billion has already been lost in agriculture losses in Brazil itself. In India also there has been various reports which highlighted that if the climate change keeps on happening, India is one of the major country who is susceptible to the worst effect of it. So India, because it is an agrarian economy and it is heavily dependent on monsoon, which is a weather phenomena which get really affected of the as a climate change happens, it will have major repercussion on the economy of India and overall the agriculture over here. Loss of human lives, property and livelihoods. The most affected areas was the Sahel and the Greater Horn of Africa, China, India, Korea, Japan, regions of Asia. So the region which are like heavily populated, densely populated regions would be even worst affected. So the condition of flood, drought and even other kind of natural calamity which has been triggered by the climate change could actually mean doom for these countries. So these are the few things which has been highlighted. So from your examination point of view, climate change is a topic which is mentioned in your GS paper 1, and as well as it is one of the topic which is part of your environment, which is the syllabus for your GS paper 3. So GS paper 1 and the GS paper 3, both of these are this topic is relevant for both of these papers. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.